Mickey Spagnola is sitting down with me today in the podcast studio. Mickey, this is my first time in here. I know this is a brand new studio for everyone this week. Isn't it great?
I'll tell you what, this is something else. I've been doing these shows in many places, not only here, but back at the ranch back in the day when we first started doing this. And this is like the Taj Mahal, I swear to God, with all the screens, the pictures behind us. We're kind of close together, like we know each other. Yeah, this is absolutely fabulous, and guarantee you with Chris Beam getting all the little buttons back there to push and making us look good, I think, and at least from what I can tell looking at the screens.
No, this looks incredible. This is a really nice studio to be in. And we're back here in Frisco getting things started. Preseason is about to wrap up. I mean, how are you feeling going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think when you're getting ready to play that last preseason game, as they are, regardless if it's this the third or back in the day the fourth, the one thing you're hoping for is no more injuries. That health is the most important thing when you're getting in these final games. That the score is meaningless. It's meaningful to the guys that are playing, that are trying to make the team. And, when you're only getting 3 preseason games, those guys kind of get shortchanged. They don't have as much opportunity to prove themselves. So this third one's going to be big for a lot of the young guys, especially the rookie free agents, that, they need to prove that, by golly, you should have drafted me. I'm good. I can play in this game. So, yeah. I think that that's what you're looking at in this final game. The Cowboys still, I bet if they wanted to, the cut-down days going to be Tuesday, August 29th. I bet they very easily can get to 45 of the 53. And now it's those last 8 spots that really got to do some thinking, and the guys have to do maybe some mind changing by the way they play in this game.
100%. And you mentioned injuries, and I know one of the biggest storylines this week, DeMarvion Overshown had an ACL injury versus Seattle in the first quarter. He has had such a positive attitude after this injury. He also mentioned after the game in an interview, he said, "I'm going to take my time to really dive into football and get my body right and take my time on this knee to come back better than ever." What are your thoughts just on his positive attitude throughout this week after the injury?
Yeah, his nature is almost unbelievable that he was so positive about the whole thing. I think one of the other things he said was, "I'm going to take the energy I had playing towards my rehab." And I was thinking, that's a really healthy outlook. Because normally when you do that and you realize not only were you going to make the team, but you were going to get playing time. You were going to get snaps in the regular season games, and you were going to be one of the guys that was a core special teams player. So you had a great job as a rookie. You're all excited about that, and then this happens. And, I can't imagine, you go home at night after you find out that you tore your ACL, and it's like, got to be talking to yourself, right? And just mad as hell. But the next day, he was so frank about it and talking about, how much that he was going to look forward to his rehab. And I thought Jerry Jones did a nice job of talking about how he wanted to get DeMarvion with Michael Irvin, who in his second year with the Cowboys, so back in 1989, 6 games into the season, he tore his ACL in his second year in the league. And, he didn't get back till midway through the 90 season, but he attacked it, right? And you got to look at it as, that's my job. And, I was joking with him. I said, well, your next best friend is going to be Britt Brown, the Cowboys trainer who rehabs everybody. And he goes, yeah, I know. And I said, and just a word to the wise, when you get done with Britt, you're going to look forward to practice because practice is going to be easier than your rehab. And he goes, you know what? I think I've heard that before. So hopefully he gets a chance to talk to Michael and talk to some of the guys that, Michael Gallup had to come back from a torn ACL. So it's not the end of the world, but you got to be ready to go through the pains of the rehab. And it seems like I said, he's just got the right attitude, and that'll help him out a lot.
He even was out at practice last night signing autographs. He just had a big smile on his face. I think he'll be very positive through this.
Oh, I tell you what, I'd be in a room with a dark room, feeling sorry for myself.
Me too.
But you're right. He was signing autographs. He had a smile on his face, and it's like, what a great attitude to go into. He had told me that they hadn't really scheduled his surgery yet, but obviously it's coming. And I don't know if he's had surgery before. And at one point I had my first surgery, and I was thinking, boy, this is serious when they start talking to you about anesthesia. And it's like, and then I thought, well, this is a good lesson because these guys have to go through that repeatedly sometimes, right? And I don't know if you've ever had to have a surgery, but yeah, it's a little scary when it's you. When everybody else is doing it, it's minor surgery. Well, when it's you, it's not minor, it's major. So we'll see how he handles that part of it.
Now, Marquis Bell is the front runner for that position. What have you seen from him in camp, preseason that you like, maybe dislike?
Yeah. I think one of the good things about Marquise is that when he got here last year, they were working him as a true safety, dropping back. But the other thing, they were working him at as a safety close to the line of scrimmage. And so this isn't brand new to him. But one of the things that he told me after everybody else walked away, it's like, well, when did you find out this was going to happen? And he said Dan Quinn called him the next morning and said, okay, you're going to kind of be in that big nickel linebacker spot. And he was like, okay, good for me, whatever opportunity I get. And he's that type of guy, too. He made the team as a rookie free agent last year, undrafted, ended up at FAMU, and Florida A&M University, and he had gone to Notre Dame. Things didn't work out well there, and had to come back and go to a smaller school. And I asked him, I said, so it's a pretty good opportunity for you. I said, do you ever think back to how you got here, where you were? And he said, every day I am blessed. And so another guy with a really good attitude. So yeah. I think there's a lot of people pulling for Markquese Bell.
I definitely am pulling for him too. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see what he does. I'm sure they'll look at him in this preseason game this coming weekend and then kind of evaluate how his role is going to be so big for us.
Oh, no, absolutely. And when I was talking about earlier, he's one of those guys that this game is very important to, especially if you're kind of play a dual role. And one of the things that he, has to adapt to is when you're safety, you're 10, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. Well, now if you're playing a little linebacker, you're 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and things happen faster. And that was one of the things he said, I got to get used to the run fits, like where do I go on this running play and where do I fill? And you got to make that decision a lot faster.
And the pace, yeah.
Right, than when you're playing safety.
Now, I have a fun story from this week.
Okay.
I was walking into an elevator, and Deuce Vaughn, he's in the elevator at the time, and he looks over at me and he goes, hey, I'm actually a little lost right now. Do you know which floor football is on, or this portion of football? And I said, no problem. I'm actually going up to that floor right now. So take him up to the floor. I said, hey, great job in the first preseason games, awesome job. And he was like, thank you so much. And we get out of the elevator and he goes, which direction do I go? And he goes, I'm still trying to find my way around here. Sent him in the right direction. He said, thank you so much. But he He is so great. Lots of conversations going on about Deuce Vaughn. I know that this coming weekend versus the Raiders, there was some questions whether they actually play Deuce Vaughn as well as Jalen Tolbert. What do you think about holding these guys out until the first regular season
Yeah,
game?
I think the decision on both of those guys is already made, right? They're on the team, without a doubt. I'm not sure if they will hold them out or give them a series or two just to continue their acclimation into the NFL game, right? Deuce, yeah, that's funny that you ran into him. I remember, I think it was Dak's rookie year. And so his rookie year was the first year at the Star. And it was late in the season, or maybe even the off season, and he ended up over there where the Super Bowl trophies are, like the other entrance. And he was like, okay, where do I go from here? I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I've never been here before. I said, you've been here for 5 months. And he goes, yeah, but I've had no reason to go to this end of the building. So it was kind of the same thing as you running into Deuce. And I could remember when we first got here, I was scared to go through any door because I figured it was going to lock on me. And but that's a great story that you ran into him, and you were probably looking eye to eye with him too, weren't you?
Yes, 100%. He's the exact same height as me, so he's great though. I know that we're getting into the 53-man roster starting next week. Jerry made some comments this week about how he's very comfortable where we're at with the backs, and he also mentioned that we should not be including the Cowboys in the conversations for closing the running back position.
Right.
As other teams begin to make some of those cuts, do you anticipate us, any ads into the area for backs?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think in those situations, you never close your eyes to any possibility. I think the preference is we've been with these guys through the whole offseason. We've been through them in training camp. We know who our guys are. So your preference is to stick with the guys you have. But you also have to do your due diligence on whatever other guys might be released. Now, chances are, unless somebody's just overloaded at the running back position, you're probably not going to find somebody better than what you have right now. But you never know. Maybe a veteran guy gets released because of his salary, and they don't have room for him. That's one of the reasons why they did sign in the offseason Ronald Jones. Now, he's been hurt. It looks like he's getting close to getting back into practice, and he was kind of that veteran safety net. Like, if these young guys don't come through, we at least have him. But if you follow the money, he doesn't have a contract that you say, I got to keep this guy.
Right.
I can't take this hit against the salary cap. So my guess is, unless something really falls in their lap, that running back position is going to be Tony Pollard, Deuce Vaughn, and then, either a combination or one or the other of Malik Davis and Rico Dowdle. And I think that's probably the way they'll go. And then the other thing, one of the things they try to do is, if they've got somebody that they need to place on IR, but you don't want to put them on IR for the entire season, they have to be on the roster the first day of the league year. And so sometimes they cut a veteran guy that's not going to go anywhere, and then after a day they bring him back. So those are some things that they do. And they may do that with one of the young running backs, thinking, okay, this guy can probably go through waivers. I can get this guy that's injured onto IR, and then I re-sign him 24 hours later. So a lot of times, I've always told people, when they make the cut to 53, if you're on the team, don't go buy a house, because you never know. You may not be here for very long.
100%. And I know we're getting down to the wire after this weekend for making some of those cuts. And there's still a lot of free agents here. Do you have any guys that you're kind of looking at? And you mentioned earlier the 8 spots that you
Right.
potentially have open here. Any free agents on your radar that you think might move up?
Yeah, and I don't know if they're free agents or they're late draft choices. So if I'm watching the game Saturday, I'm keeping my eye on Jalen Brooks, the 7th-round draft choice wide receiver from South Carolina. I think he's kind of on that bubble where, yeah, they'd like to keep him, but will they have enough room? Another guy, Eric Scott, the 6th-round draft choice, the cornerback that they traded into the to the 6th round with the first pick to select him. And I think he's kind of on that cusp of, do they keep an extra cornerback, or do they think he can get through waivers to get him on the practice squad? Wanye Thomas, he's a first-year free agent, and he has flashed, right? Makes plays in practices, makes plays in the preseason games. Can they add another safety? So yeah, there's guys like that that they're certainly keeping their eye on. One of the guys that was flashing and probably would have been at least on the practice squad, the wide receiver David Durden from I never heard of West Florida College or whatever it is, right? And he was going to at least make the practice squad, and then in this practice Wednesday night he tore his ACL, and so, or it looked like he tore it. They were going to check it again today. So either way, he was either going to be on the practice squad or he's going to be on injured reserve, and they kind of liked him. So that was unfortunate for him. And then the other thing is some of the offensive linemen for backup positions. They moved T.J. Bass up to get some first-team snaps in Zach Martin's spot when they said, okay, Zach's got enough. You go see what you can do with the first team. So a guy like that. And then their other 5th-round draft choice, Awesome Richards, offensive tackle. And when they gave Tyron Smith a break in practice, he got some snaps with the first team. So there's a bunch of guys like that in that last game that, you got to put your best foot forward, and they have to make decisions on those guys because they would like to keep them all, right? You get 16 spots on the practice squad. But if the guy shows too much potential in these preseason games, somebody might claim him, and then you can't get him onto the practice squad. So, yeah, that's an important part of putting your roster together when you get down to Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
And Tuesday at 3 o'clock will come very soon, but we still have one more training camp practice here in Frisco, the preseason game this Saturday, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we can do this again.
Absolutely. Mickey, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.